Hello, and welcome to Every Day is Funny, the meditative morning show about newspaper comics. And I want to get into the comics pretty quickly. Sunday's longer comics, we should be getting right into it. But I do want to give a shout out, very briefly, to a man I met yesterday. And I was walking by the water. I didn't know that it was the day of the Jersey City Jazz Festival. So bands were playing, a lot of people around, and I sat by to listen. Sat at a table nearby, and this man and his friend come by, and for some reason they decide to ask if they can sit at my table, which is always a weird, you never know how that's gonna play. And I was in kind of a grumpy mood, and so I was a little begrudgingly accepting, like, yeah, sit down. But then I thought, like, I should talk to this guy. Even just, maybe it'll be a story to relay on this show. And so I asked him where he got his burger, because it looked really good. And we started talking, and we ended up having an hour-long conversation, maybe longer. And he's a fascinating man. His name's Nathan. He's 65 years old. And Nathan is a self-professed truth seeker. And throughout the course of our conversation, I was really trying to suss him out. You know, he seemed like a nice, normal guy. He was the security guard at the Met for over 20 years. We talked about his trip to Ghana in 2019. But then, you know, there would be moments where he's like, I like podcasts, and I'd be like, oh, cool, what kind of stuff do you like? And, you know, to go along with the truth seeker thing, he name dropped Tucker Carlson. We did get into politics. But it was which we didn't agree on, but it was a wonderful hour-long combo. Nathan is the nicest dude in the world. And we just talked about whatever. I felt like I could ask Nathan pretty much anything, and he was an open book. And so I thought just overall it was a beautiful testament to chatting it up with random people. The whole conversation improved my mood immensely yesterday. And you don't have to see eye to eye with someone to get along with them and see where they're coming from. It was truly a lovely conversation. I think Nathan's amazing. I got his email, so I'm hoping that I can get him on the show at some point. And, you know, we talked about so much serious stuff. He turned me on to this new Zoom-like software that he invested in and that he's excited about. You know, we talked about gentrification and his struggles with going from Jersey City to having to move elsewhere for the cheaper rent. And after all this serious conversation, I was like, what kind of host would I be if I didn't bring this up? So after talking about his trip to Ghana, I think, I was like, Nathan, I gotta ask, what do you feel about newspaper comics? And I really wanted to ask to record his voice for this. But, you know, it was a weekend. He was just trying to enjoy his time at the Jazz Festival, so I didn't do that. But I did ask him, Nathan, what do you think about newspaper comics? And he told me, Beetle Bailey, Family Circus. So Nathan knows his stuff, and I told them that I talk about those two strips on this show all the time. And Nathan said, you know, he likes when things are funny, but he also wants them to make him think. And so I want to dedicate this episode to Nathan, and I hope that the comics we read today, I hope they're funny, but I hope they make us think too. All right, let's get to the comics. All right, what I did want to do, you know, last weekend was Garfield's weekend. He had the movie release. It was all about Garf. But that weekend is over. And I want to give the spotlight this weekend to another orange cat. You know who I'm talking about. Maybe you don't. I don't want to assume. But I'm talking about Heathcliff. I would say the stranger counterpart to Garfield. The comics usually don't make as much sense as Garfield, but they're very fun. And I thought maybe we could do a head-to-head today. Heathcliff versus Garfield. And let's see which orange cat comes out on top. First, let's check Heathcliff. All right. We see Heathcliff sprinting as fast as he can. He passes some bunnies along a field. But then, he is now getting chased by 2 hams and a hot dog. And he sprints past the bunnies as he's being chased by 2 hams and a hot dog. And the bunnies say, "I'm glad we're vegetarians." Then there's another little thing called Kitty Corner, where it says Hank Hellstrom of Minneapolis, Minnesota, says his cat Zuko loves to sit on the lap of his friend Nadia, but she's allergic to cats. Achoo. Okay. So we can talk about that ending first. I guess the author of Heathcliff, Peter Gallagher, likes to give a shout out to his community, which, hey, no harm there, mad respect. Sounds like a sad situation that could end in death. I don't know how bad the allergy is. But let's focus on the main comic strip here. Heathcliff getting chased by hams and a hot dog. I think I get the point of the joke. Like, this is a act of vengeance, meat finally exacting its revenge on those who eat it. And the rabbits are happy to not have to be in that boat because they know the meat won't come after them because the meat knows who eats them. I don't know how. But what I don't really get is, like, I think 1 ham would have been fine here, right? Like, why did Peter Gallagher decide to pick 2 hams and a hot dog? Like, maybe do 1 ham, a hot dog, and a turkey leg or something. But the 2-1 ratio seems like an odd artistic choice to me. You know, it's kind of like that comedy rule of 3s. This is just like a weird rule of 2 plus 1, which is 3. What am I talking about? But why 2 hams? How about just 1 ham, 1 hot dog, and we call it a day? It's just more to illustrate. Like, didn't he work on this? And I'm sure he wants to go on with his life. He does this every day, right? Why wouldn't he just say, I'll draw 1 ham, I'll draw 1 hot dog, and it's less work for me. I can go hang out with my family. Deciding to draw 2 hams is the strangest part of the whole comic to me, but I do like it overall. Now let's see what Garfield's up to. Let's see how it competes to Heathcliff. All right, we got John, Garfield's owner, getting the food ready for Garfield and Odie. He puts it down, says, "Boys, dinner." They both show up, chomp on their food to no end, finish it immediately. And then they belch loudly, which John is not happy with the belching. He says, "I've lost my appetite. Here you go, guys." And then they high five as if that was always the plan. Okay. I don't get... This seems like it's on John. I get that, it's rude to just gobble up while everyone's trying to have a meal together and then belch loudly and get food everywhere. But my main thing is, like, why is John putting the pet's food on the table right next to him? It's not like this is an isolated incident. He could put that stuff on the floor. He could enjoy his meal to himself. Look at the meal he made. This is a full course. There's meat. There's veggies. There's... I don't know what else is going on. Maybe some mashed potatoes with butter on it. Do you know how much work he did? He pulled out all the stops. And then, like, what are you doing, John? Or just feed them earlier, time it differently. But it's like, you feed them at the same time you're gonna eat. You put everybody's food right next to one another. And maybe that's in an attempt to bond, which I understand, but like, John, this one's on you, my man. How would you not be hungry after that? How would you lose your appetite after just preparing a full 3-course meal of sorts? So which one's funnier? Well, Garfield has a leg in the realism. So if that's what you're looking for, I'd say go Garf. But if you want a little bit of surrealism, I don't know why I said surrealism like that. Surrealism, which I do like. You know, I'm a Zippy the Pinhead fan. I would give today's strip, I'd give this one to Garfield. Now, that's not me taking a stance. That's just today's strip. We'll reenact this competition again soon. But this one, let's put a line in the sand for Garf. All right, let's move on. Rex Morgan MD time. I pray Parker is still not complaining and being self-deprecating about himself today. I hope we've moved on and we get on to bigger issues like the open mic night. Let's check it out. Okay, they're in the cafeteria now, Parker and Corey. They're getting food from the lunch lady. Corey says, another gourmet meal, courtesy the Glenwood Middle School cafeteria. Parker says, nothing says gourmet like fish sticks and 3-bean salad. I heard about one kid who coughed when he was eating that and passed a bean out his nose. Ah, okay, a little joke. Then we got lunchtime in the school cafeteria. They're sitting down to eat. A girl next to them says, we heard some new kid was bullying you two in the hallway this morning. Corey said, tried to. His material was pretty weak. Oh, speak of the devil. Here's our guy. Erg. Oh, and here comes the bully again. He says, ha ha, so this is the nerd table. What a bunch of losers. Parker says, officially designated nerd table since 1979, when the school was built. No losers here, though. The boy says, stuff you say makes no sense. Something's wrong with you. Parker says, no, it's just that the jokes are flying way over your head. The bully says, huh? Flying jokes? What the? You guys are just begging for a fist sandwich. Corey says, I don't see anyone here begging for that. We'll stick to the fish sticks. Thanks. Wow. A lot going on here. We've traversed multiple settings. First they're on the lunch line, then they're sitting down at the table. For Rex Morgan, this is like a Fast and the Furious movie with how much action's going on. What did I think originally? That this bully is a new kid? I don't think we've learned that information yet. I thought this was a well-known bully in the school. This guy's just coming in hot like this, making fun of any random kids his first day? That's the most bonkers thing to me so far. Like the chutzpah to just try and run the school like that. Like staging a coup the first day you arrive at the palace. That's pretty insane. Everything's pretty normal here, you know, classic Corey Parker repartee for the beginning. Parker retells an urban legend about a boy coughing and passing a bean through his nose. That's all pretty standard Parker from what I know. I do find it odd that the bully comes back to their table so fast. Like this, like... So he's the new kid at school. He tries to make fun of people. It goes okay, but he's like, you know what, forget it, I'm done with this. Already, seemingly an hour or two later, he's going after him again. Like he's just like been told by his parents or somebody, like, you gotta establish dominance your first day, so do whatever it takes. He's really strong-willed in that regard. And all he has to say is, so this is the nerd table, what a bunch of losers. And then Parker does his classic Parker thing, which I'm not the biggest fan of. This was officially designated the nerd table since 1979. Like, I'm kind of agreeing with the bully when he says stuff you say makes no sense. Something's wrong with you. Like, I'm kind of like, I don't know if it's just the jokes are flying over his head, Parker. I think the jokes are so high in the air because they're not landing. I love you, Park, but I don't love you, Park. I don't know why I said that. I don't really like you. I feel like Corey and the bully should team up. I feel like they'd have more in common if they got down to brass tacks about what they're all about. Corey could bail on Parker. I think Corey and the bully could do a solid two-man show for the open mic night. Kind of like a Why I Oughta, and then Corey just like firing back these classic jabs. Let me think of what to comment. All right, this doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm gonna just comment. After the Great Nerd Massacre of 1979, they officially named the table after them. We bow our heads for all the fallen nerds. Just kind of sweet. Builds a little bit of lore and mystery into the Rex Morgan universe. How did all these nerds die? Were they specifically targeted? Was this a real story? Send. All right. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their weekend. Pour one out for the fallen nerds. And remember, every day is funny.